there are women who have married older, wealthier men, and but in Regina and Ned's case, could they truly grasp what their unions demanded? You know, because if you think about it, some people have gotten it right. So what did they do wrong? And what were the odds against them?
Against them, yeah.
Yes.
So not all age gap marriages are inherently doomed. Like you just cited at the beginning, the Okoyas, we've seen that in age gap, right? But some of them don't thrive as much as that. And so what that really requires in age gap marriages is deep emotional maturity, which you also mentioned, and of course, mutual respect to thrive. For an 18-year-old, she will see love as safety, and power can be disguised in form of protection in that kind. Let's talk about her age at the time of marriage.
Exactly, at
18 years old is a teenager, is a child. Let us not look at the way the society has made it look like it is all about money, power, influence. That is a brain that where as a psychiatrist and as a physician, we talk about the prefrontal cortex. That is the site for executive functioning, decision making, impulse control, is not fully developed. So no matter
how exposed,
they're still a child. So exposing to wealth, power,
and apparently she met him before
exactly. 18. So she's going to mistake C for C and D for D. What do I mean C for C and D for D? Control for care, and dependency for dependency for pampering or something like that. So the truth is that a child at that age is supposed to, learn more about identity, how to thrive, how to be more self-aware, how to develop herself more. And researchers are also backing this up and telling us that we have over 40% of divorces in these age gap marriages because of the emotional maturity and, of course, the life expectation for two generations wide apart. And also age gap that are 20 years more in that age gap, there's imbalance in power and autonomy. So the questions we should be asking is that which system set up an 18-year-old to marry at that stage? And also looking at the fact that what system also allow unhealed, issues and psychological narrative drive an older man to marry such a very young person.
That's very common.
So because the thing is that now we are talking about control here, we are talking about, we are talking about control, we are talking about the fact that, affirmation, we're talking about, being admired as an older person. So the truth is that these are tendencies for an older person to exhibit narcissistic enforcement because that drives a deeply seated insecurity. So we need to understand that when there's that age gap kind of marriage, issues like this is a system. We have to build a system where an 18-year-old shouldn't be seen because she's exposed to power, money, influence, shouldn't be seen as if it's enjoying. Healing doesn't happen in luxury cars. It happens in safe spaces.
It's good that you mentioned this because there's also the issue of the mother. A lot of people, the mother has gotten a lot of backlash. That how on earth would you take your 16-year-old child, which is apparently the age that she met him, how would you introduce him to a man already in a polygamous setting?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because people perceive or the perception out there is that she did it to satisfy her own self.
So
most times, and almost as if you gave your child as a sacrificial lamb. Because how on earth can you think a girl of 16, 17, 18 can begin to cope in a polygamous setting with a man who already has 5 other wives?
So UNICEF, as of 2021, that did research in us, in Nigeria, talked about the fact that over 44% of young girls that marry before the age of 18 had their parents' blessing. That is not, it's not only about concept, this is about conditioned fear.
Pedophilia.
Yes, conditioned fear. So we unhealed mothers, we definitely bring about this fear that the children will inherit over generation to generation. So sometimes it's not about greed that they are marrying off their children. It may be about generational trauma. Because what they understand is the fact that, this is what can take their family away from generational survival issues, societal pressure, and of course the fact that we need to move past this stage. So you find out that some mothers will drive their children into such marriages, survival marriages, which we call them, because they want to uplift themselves out of some level of trauma. So
without the child being mentally prepared.
Exactly. And so we need to let mothers, train mothers on emotional healing, psychological education, and of course financial independency, so that they should not be driving their children into such survival marriages. It's not healthy for any child of that level.
Okay. Anyway, we have Precious in the house now. Now I've been discussing with Dr. Memuna here, and we've been talking about the mental health of a child who marries a man much older and a man who already has several other wives, polygamous setting. Now I want to ask you, Ned Nwoko is a seasoned politician and a political figure, also a public figure, as you know. So how do you think someone of his stature could have managed this situation more gracefully without falling public drama or blame?
Do the needful. You know, would make sense. See, because of very few challenge or non-challenge elements for markets.
Personally, I don't want to be judgmental.
Close down the whole market.
Nobody takes my statements the wrong
they pay huge money.
I think as
just like waiting in talk at the end of the day, sure you they try to tell them say make them go they produce or sell fake jobs. Because you don't understand what you should have pay everybody for that market over 5,000 people. I mean shops.
We all
then go they pay
agree that he didn't do justice to his response.
Now particularly they will decide to encourage that thing.
Leadership skills attested in troubled waters, not calm waters. I think he should have waited a bit, not trying to seek social media validation and all that. He should have issued a response, a statement that would have protected family virtues, not throwing his beloved under the bus in a minute. So personally, this is my personal thoughts. I feel like his statements were childish. He should have acted from the protective point of view, not the defensive and aggressive point of view. His statement, as long as I'm concerned, was uncalled for, was not right. It further showed that he had failed as a husband, as a mentor, even as a senator. Because charity, they say, begins at home. Leadership begins at home. So if that was your first response in such a chaotic situation, only God knows what they do right there in the National Assembly.
But some can
personally, you see, I keep mentioning personally. These are my thoughts. I feel like he could have responded with more grace.
Okay,
if he needed to respond.
Yes,
there was no need for that immediate response.
Okay, if you say that, but then again, on impulse, don't you think he would have wanted to defend himself to a certain extent, which is why he explained?
Of course.
Because he made it sound like he had been long suffering with this accommodation of her excessive usage of drugs. I'm not justifying or supporting anybody in this case. I'm just saying, do you think he was pressed to release that against his better judgment? Do you think he was pressed to release that information?
Leadership skills, he wasn't pressed. There's nothing pressing about it. Silence in such situation breeds future respect. The respect that comes from silence in this kind of situation along, how do I explain it now? In the future, people will respect you more if you had kept quiet in a time like this. I don't think there was any need for that immediate statement. There was nothing to defend there. Silence, focus on your family. From the story we heard, a child was sick. Something is going on. You are the head of the house. This lady you are married to is 40 years younger than you. Focus on your family. Find a way to, package your family in a way that it will not be an object of ridicule, even in future. In a second, you just came out to admit that your wife is a drug user. That is not right. So I think, personally, I also feel like Ned Nwoko loves the social media. He loves social media validation. And that is what happened there. He was trying to look for social media validation. So I stand on my ground that his response was not graceful enough. His response was too quick. And his response showed less of fatherly role.
Get back to Dr. Memuna and your house. They say to whom much is given, much is expected. There are claims that when Ned Nwoko's wife tried to leave, he withholds the children. So in a marriage where a partner holds all the power and women often shrink to keep the peace, how can they reclaim their voice and worth without being seen as rebellious?
You know, when you cry for help, that cry for help is a cry for autonomy, cry for power. So it's not being rebellious. It's that last cry that I need help. Like the question you asked earlier on, why did he had to respond? He didn't have to respond. You cannot throw your wife under the bus just at the blink of just something. How can you be saying that she's a drug addict? Was she a drug addict before she entered the marriage? Just at the question that if you bring it to the society should also ask you those kind of questions. If she was a drug addict before the marriage, how have you helped her in rehabilitation? So now
he claims that he tried to help her.
You know, we need a lot of questions because he's a politician, he's a leader, he's in the Senate. So he owes us. If he's bringing it to the public, we have to also give him back to him. But the truth here is that holding children, that's emotional imprisonment. You can't hold children. And if the wife decides to come out and speak, that is a cry for help. And we need to help know what the challenges are. You cannot hold children and as a bait. That is manipulation. And we also need to know, from a psychiatric point of view, half of all mental illnesses start before the age of 14. I've said this on this program, maybe like this is the 5th time. And 2/3 before the age of 24. What are you teaching those children right now? What are they seeing? What public validation are they seeing that the parents are? Let's not forget, internet doesn't forget things. So they are going to grow up to see these things that they are all over the internet. And how are they going to view relationship? How are they going to view power? How are they going to view family values? And these are the things that need to be put in place. So when a woman eventually shouts and say, look, there's a cry for help, we, the society, shouldn't silence her. We, the society, shouldn't look at it as if she is seeking for validation or seeking for whatever it is. We should build, a culture of compassion. We should eliminate that gossip culture and invite a compassion culture so that we can build safe spaces for such people to speak up and get the help that they need.
Yeah, but is it out of place for men like Ned Nwoko to feel entitled? Because when you're the one paying the bills, you're the one picking the tabs, your voice must be heard. Your voice must be heard. Even if you recall, even when families lose a parent or whatever. Yeah. So usually it's not the eldest person that has the loudest voice. That has the money. It's the person that has the money.
Yeah.
So when you have that dominance, such powerful dominance, is it unnatural for him to expect? I'm not playing the devil's advocate here. I'm just being neutral and objective. Is it out of place for him to expect that everything he says must be law?
I don't hear
everything he says mustn't be law. We also have to...
No, but you agree that that's what normally is.
Exactly. That is what we have been seeing. This is what the society has been projecting, the culture and the gender norms that do not favor women. But the truth is that we also have to look at the system that should also look at men that are broken but powerful. What system helps such people that are broken and powerful to get the help that they need? You don't have to shout it out. You have to do what it is. And this is where emotional intelligence takes place. Emotional intelligence demands part, the woman's part, because if there's an age gap marriage, it takes a lot for you as a man to do what is right. This girl is still going to behave her age. She is still young. She's still going to do all the paparazzi, the Gen Z, the social media, whatever. But you are way older. You are more like a grandfather. You should add your age. You should add the values that you bring. You should be the bigger person here. You shouldn't at any instance be putting up. Do you know what the power of silence is? Let us be the one to say, what is he thinking about? What is he doing? How is he helping? Rather than just coming within hours of an issue, you're already sending out almost like a disclaimer. She's a drug addict and I'll be sending out rehabilitation. She has to go back, and if she doesn't continue her rehabilitation, what are you trying to tell us? You are not in charge of your home.
Another thing I want to wonder, as we're talking, that crossed my mind, is that on one hand, there's the perception, I keep using the word perception because we're not in the union, that he accommodated her youthful exuberance just to at least be on the same page with her. And then there are those who now argue that accommodating that youthful exuberance is what has resulted to this.
You have
so
to.
How do you find the balance as a much older man?
So that is where we are talking about control. We are talking about admiration. You know, when you crave for admiration, it marks deep-seated insecurities. So we shouldn't look at it as you accommodated. It's your own free will.